Hi there, I'm Brittney Harrod, and this is my video presentation of watching the clips of Standardize the Format Clip 2 with Megan, Affirmative Checking Clip 6 with Hillary, and No Opt-Out Clip 9 with David. So throughout this presentation, I am going to start with each clip, and then I am going to tell you what the key learnings are from the clip, how the information impacted me and my thinking, and then I will answer what information that I will take with me and I will implement as a teacher, and then why I'm going to implement those, why that's important to me. So the key learnings from watching this, the clip from clip 2 is the teacher uses all of the techniques that we learned in chapter 7 in one lesson. So the techniques that were really focused in on in chapter 7 were wait time, cold call, call and response, break it down, and then the pepper strategy. So in your book, you can look on page 244, and that is where it defines the wait time. And wait time is where you ask a question as the teacher, and then you wait at least a second, and then you allow the students to give their response after that. So I included this picture about the power of wait time, and students need to listen to the question instead of trying to get their hand up as soon as they hear the teacher start talking. This is a way to have them actually listen to the question, process the question, and then raise their hand. So like I said, the student needs to process what they've heard. And then the student may need to translate from one language to another. So how the teacher says it may not be as broken down as how the student can understand it. So therefore that allows them time to really just stop and think about what the teacher is asking. So then on page 249, it talks about wait time. And I really enjoyed seeing how the teacher used this in that clip, because it just opened my eyes to what this really is. So cold call is there's four purposes of using the strategy, and that is checking for their understanding. You can create a culture of engaged accountability. Pacing is another one, and I noticed in clip 2 that she paced the entire time, which makes your students know that you're coming around, you're checking what they're writing down, so you know if they're writing down the correct answers, and then you are you're asking them questions throughout your pacing. So key ways to be effective using the cold call is to keep it predictable. Let the students know that you're gonna do this, that you're not gonna just call on the first person that raises their hand. You're gonna randomly pick any student. So then also make cold call systematic, keep cold call positive, which is a really, really big deal, because I know growing up, cold call was not used positive. And so therefore I always froze up whenever the teacher called on me, because it was used more of a, let me see what you've learned, and if you didn't understand it, then I'm gonna kind of embarrass you type thing. So that was a really good point that I learned. And then call and response is another one. And that is when you ask your class to answer questions in unison from time to time to build energetic, positive engagement. And that's found on page 262 in your book. And I really liked how she used this in the clip. Her teaching was very energetic and very positive, and just really encouraging for her students. So then the next one is break it down. And this is when a student makes an error, you provide just enough help to allow her to solve as much of the original problem as she can. And that's found on page 268 of the book. And in her, in the video, there was a student that she called on, and the student couldn't provide that little bit more that she was looking for. And so in an encouraging, positive way, she gave her a little clue, a little hint, and then the student was able to go from there and take that next step into answering the question correctly. So then the last technique is pepper. Pepper is a fast-paced vocal review to build energy and actively engage your class, and that's found on page 274 in the book. And she, like I said, she was very fast-paced, very energetic, and just kept the class going the entire time. So that's the the 5 strategies that are broken down into her lesson. So this next is, how did the information impact my thinking? I've told you a lot just through discussing what strategies she used and how she used them. It really opened my eyes to seeing how to implement these strategies into one class time. So whenever I was reading the chapters, I was just thinking of using one strategy at a time. I didn't think about how to actually implement each strategy into one class time, like pacing and cold calling, but you also use that through call and response and keep that energy up. And it was just really eye-opening, and I learned a lot about how to use the call and response, but also use the wait time. Wait time is very important, I think, and this clip, just like I said, really showed me how to ask a question, pause, give them time to think, and then use that cold call where the kids know, okay, she's going to randomly call on everyone throughout the class time, and it's not going to be in a negative way. It's going to be a, let's learn together, let's keep this energy going. And she paced through the whole thing. So that's showing that she's that she's going around, and she's going to get every student's ideas because they're writing them down on paper. So it helped me understand how to fully implement each strategy into the class in one sitting. So the information that I will take and use as a teacher is actually all of them. I will use all of these strategies, and I will try and do exactly like clip 2 did every day in my classroom. I want the students to be fully engaged and to keep their attention and to have that fast-paced, fun, energetic energy in my class. I think that's very important in order for your students to learn. Nobody wants to go into a boring classroom where you just sit there and you hear the teacher talk and talk and talk and talk. You want to go in and you want to learn. You want to do it in a fun way. And I think that all of these strategies help 100% to make the class a fun and inviting way to learn. So overall, my personal and professional reflection of the clip number 2, it's just showing each strategy, wait time, cold call, call and response, break it down, and pepper. It shows every single one of those strategies. It breaks it down, letting you know exactly what each one is, how to implement each one, and it also showed me ways that I will use it in my classroom. So it just provided an overall great experience for me and helped me to understand what each strategy is and how to implement them in a class setting all at one time. Next video that we watched was the affirmative checking, clip 6 by Hillary Lewis. And in this one, she starts out with using an exit ticket, which I think is amazing because not only do the students have to actually use independent practices where they are sitting there, they have to think about what they've learned and they have to answer the question correctly. But then once they have the answer in their head, they actually have to write down what the answer is on a Post-it note. And then she calls them individually to her desk to check their work. So they're not sitting there rushing, trying to be the first one to be up there and give their Post-it to her. They have to be patient, and they have time to sit there and really think about what the correct answer is and then write it down. So the teacher called the student individually to her desk and checked their work. When they answered the question correctly, they were able to go ahead and get started on the next assignment. So the exit ticket got them to where they got to move on in class. And if they got the question wrong, she just responded positively and encouraged them to one example is she said, okay, you did your own problem, which is great. I need you to do that problem, as she points to the board. So her reaction signals to the student that getting it wrong is as normal as getting it right. So overall, she in this clip, you see that she's using an exit ticket. She's using independent practice. She is using the independent practice as a reward. Then the student shows the correct work, and there's no incentive to speed through the exit ticket. And so that is showing quality work over speed. So after watching the clip, I turned to page 53 in the book, Teach Like a Champion 2.0. On page 53, it goes over what we watched in the video. So what we watched was, and what the information that impacted me is it showed me how to use the ticket, how to implement this into my class. It showed me how it uses independent practice, how it makes the student actually stop and do their own work, and then how independent practice then turns into a reward. It also showed that the students must show the correct answer to move ahead. So when she called them to her desk, she checked their work. If they had done it correctly, they got to move ahead. If they did not, then she would respond and tell them to check their work. So that also showed me that taking the time, and it showed the students also that take your time to really process and think about the question that has been asked, and don't speed through it. So it proves quality work over speed, which is a great thing to really implement in your class, because most of the time the students rush through. They're trying to be the first one to get done so that they can move on to the next thing. And it also showed me how to respond with a warm, positive attitude. And then even if they get it wrong, you can still respond the same way with that warm, supportive tone, but you tell them to go back and check their work, and you do it in a positive way. So it encourages them, and it shows that that getting it wrong is as normal as getting it right. The information that I will take with me and implement into my classroom is, first of all, the ticket, because like I said, it provides the student with independent practice, and that's really important to make sure that they are understanding what you're teaching, what you've just said, and then it gives them the reward of, okay, you understand what I've taught you, so now you get to go to the next step in class. And it also encourages the quality work over speed. And like I said before, that is very important to me because I know there are so many that rush through their work and they think it's just get it done as fast as you can and then you get to move on. But that's not what I want to implement in my class. I want to implement that quality work is what's important. It doesn't matter how fast you get it done or how slow you are getting that done. What's important is that you get it done. And then also something that I want to implement is the positive responses. I want to, just like she did in the video, I want to let them know that it's okay if you get it wrong, that's normal. At some point, everybody is going to get a question wrong, and that's okay. But we need to just go back, think about and look at our work, and then figure out the correct answer, and then we can go move ahead. As the personal and professional reflection, like I said, it's just affirmative checking is where you have the ticket, you're doing the independent practices, you're rewarding them for their work, you're showing that quality work is what you're looking for, and it's a positive response. So I enjoyed watching this clip. I think Hillary did an amazing job of providing that structure to me and showing me how I can implement it into my classroom. And it just really, it really hits home and shows me the importance of using this strategy, of using the affirmative checking, and how it can encourage my students to do the same thing. And like I said, to have that quality work, and that they're going to get that positive response, even if they answer the question wrong, it's still going to be positive. The final video that I watched is the no opt-out, and that's clip 9, and that was with the teacher David. So on page 93 of the book, it states the key learnings from the clip. Pretty much what it boils down to is the teacher's using the context that the student learned in a previous class. So he's pulling in not only what the students should have learned in his class, but he's also using examples from another class. So he's using a cue to call on a classmate. He's returning to the original student. So therefore, the original student will use that hint and use that cue to answer the next part of the question. So he's just going about it a different way. He's having the class answer as a whole, and then he's returning to the student to define a word. So altogether, he's not giving that student the option of not answering the question. He's going about it a different way. He's going through asking the student, then using the class to give different hints, different cues, and then he's going back to the original student and making them answer that question. The information from clip 9 made me really think about how the teacher, he first explains that there's no wrong answer. So with him doing that, he is providing the students with that reassurance of it's okay if you answer and it's not exactly what he's looking for. He's going to keep digging and digging until you reach the point of the answer that he is looking for. Also, the teacher is giving the students no option for not answering the question. And I understand that it's very intimidating. I used to hate it whenever a teacher would ask me a question and I had to answer it aloud, because I was terrified that I was going to give the wrong answer. So therefore, David is going about it the correct way. He's showing the positive. It's okay if you don't answer exactly how I'm looking for. We're going to get to that eventually. So he's asking the student a question. The student doesn't know the answers, so he goes about, the teacher's going about getting the student to answer it just through different techniques. He's using the cues, hints, and questions. Those are the techniques that he's using in order to get, to help the student get to that answer. So I've talked about the cues, hints, and then the questions. So on page 95 of the book, it actually explains what they mean whenever they say the word cue. So in the book on page 95, it says, I use the word cue here to mean a prompt that offers additional useful information to the student in a way that pushes him or her to follow the correct thinking process. Then it goes on to explain a hint. A hint is, it can offer any related information. If a student asks, can anyone give James a hint to help him find the subject? A student might say, it starts with the letter M. So that would be giving him a hint in order to answer the question. So if that hint doesn't help, then it doesn't teach him anything that will help him next time. So, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. This would help the student guess the answer. So that's a way of implementing the cues and hints to help the student get to the correct answer. And I like this because it makes the students in the class feel like it's okay to answer, because if they answer it wrong, or if they won't answer at all, then you're going to get some help, and it's with your classmates. So your classmates are going to help you with giving you hints, and if they don't know, then we'll go to the next person and we'll find a hint from them. So it's working together as a class so that everybody's comfortable. You're not just zeroing in on one student, but you're using the whole class to get the answer from that one student. You do go back to that student and make them answer, but you're actually using the class to get there. I also liked how the teacher used warm and a humorous tone with the student. So whenever he didn't want to answer, he just kind of laughed and was humorous about how to get to the answer of the question. So I really liked that, and I will be implementing these in my class as well. So on the professional and personal reflection of this clip, I want to use all the strategies that David did, because it brought the student around to answering the question, even though the student was very reluctant on answering. It's a positive way to get your student to answer the question. It's like I said, he used that warm and humorous talk with the class, and I think that's very helpful, and I want to do the same. Overall, I enjoyed watching this because it shows how you just keep on building. You're building on to get to the answer. And so it's just going about it a different way. You're not looking at the student and saying, what's the answer to that question? And then whenever they say, I don't know, you're not just going, okay, well, this is the answer. You're actually involving everyone in order to get that answer. But you're going back to the original student and making them say the answer out loud to the class. And I think that's important, because then the student not only now knows the answer, but if they knew the answer and just didn't want to say it out loud, they don't have that option. They have to say it out loud.